Mexico is a country full of potential. It's the 13th largest country in the world and holds the title of the second largest economy in Latin America. Yet, it often finds itself in the shadow of the United States. However, Mexico's proximity to its northern neighbor is now turning into a massive strategic advantage, driving its economic growth to new heights. The 1,954-mile-long border shared by Mexico and the United States has always been significant, but now, more than ever, it's becoming an economic powerhouse for Mexico. There are 54 border crossings and 4 time zones connecting these two nations, creating a robust trade relationship. This relationship benefits both countries, but Mexico, in particular, is reaping substantial rewards. The GDP per capita map clearly shows that economic activity and income are heavily concentrated in Mexico's northern regions, right along the US border. These states have successfully established a strong export base, making them far less reliant on commodities compared to the southern regions. This trend is spreading across the country, with significant economic growth now being recorded in southern states like Oaxaca and Tabasco. One of the key drivers behind this growth is nearshoring. Nearshoring is the practice of transferring a business operation to a nearby country from one that is further away. This trend is gaining momentum as American, European, and Asian companies are moving their operations to Mexico. Foreign investment has flooded into the country, making 2023 a record year with an 18% year-on-year growth. This shift is fueled by global tensions, particularly between the United States and China, and the increasing unattractiveness of manufacturing goods in China due to trade wars and tariffs. In February 2024, Mexico overtook China as the leading source of imports for the US, marking a significant milestone in its economic journey. This has positioned Mexico as one of the fastest-growing economies in the G20, with wage growth increasing at a record pace. Mexico's journey to economic prosperity is deeply rooted in its history. Since the colonial era, the country's economy has been characterized by resource extraction. Mexico is rich in natural resources, including large stores of silver and other minerals, which have attracted significant investment in mining. However, the most transformative event was the discovery of large oil fields in the early 20th century. The discovery of the Cerro Azul field in 1916 was particularly pivotal, propelling Mexico to become one of the world's leading oil producers. This development allowed Mexico to generate substantial revenue, especially during periods of high oil prices. The creation of PMEX, the state-owned oil company, in 1938, ensured that the exploration, extraction, and sale of oil and natural gas were controlled by the state. This move significantly boosted government income, with PMBX revenues historically accounting for around 30 to 40% of total fiscal revenues. The Mexican economic miracle, which took place between 1950 and 1981, saw real GDP grow by 6.5% annually. This period of rapid economic growth was marked by increased manufacturing, urbanization, and improvements in education and infrastructure. However, the discovery of additional oil fields in 1977 led to over-reliance on oil revenues. When oil prices plummeted in the early 1980s, Mexico faced a severe economic crisis, culminating in a debt default in 1982. This crisis led to a decade of stagnation, high inflation, and low growth. The global economic downturn exposed the vulnerabilities of relying too heavily on a single resource, leading to a period known as the Lost Decade. Mexico's economic recovery began in the 1990s, aided by significant trade agreements and economic policies. In 1994, Mexico joined the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, with Canada and the United States. NAFTA reduced tariffs and eliminated many barriers to cross-border investment, allowing Mexico's exports to boom. As a share of GDP, exports more than doubled from 1994 to 2021, and the value of exports rose more than fourfold. This period also saw a significant diversification of exports, shifting from agricultural goods and oil to labor-intensive manufactured goods like electronics and automotive parts. Foreign direct investment, FDI, played a crucial role in this transformation. The reductions in tariffs and trade barriers, along with Mexico's proximity to the US, attracted substantial investment from American companies. These investments expanded and modernized Mexico's manufacturing sector, creating numerous new jobs and drawing more workers into formal employment. This shift provided better job security and benefits like pensions, encouraging workers to pursue higher education and vocational training, thereby increasing their earning potential. The stimulation of investment from NAFTA also had a number of beneficial knock-on effects for the Mexican economy, including substantial increases in government revenues and the accumulation of foreign exchange reserves. These reserves helped Mexico reduce its total debt burden, which had been a significant issue during the 1980s crisis. Despite the significant progress, Mexico still faces numerous challenges. Income inequality remains a pressing issue, with a large portion of wealth concentrated in a small percentage of the population. Around 1 in 3 Mexicans live in poverty, an improvement from 43% in 2016, but still alarmingly high for a country striving for rich nation status. Illegal activities, particularly around the drug industry, continue to tarnish Mexico's reputation and hinder economic growth. High levels of crime and homicide are not conducive to business investment, resulting in a large informal sector that further complicates economic progress. This informal sector, composed mainly of small businesses that are not taxed or regulated, accounts for a staggering 24% of GDP and 55% of employment. Workers in this sector lack benefits such as healthcare and pensions, and because informal firms are off the books, they typically cannot borrow from banks. This not only limits their growth, but also significantly reduces government tax collection. Education is another critical area where Mexico lags behind. The country has one of the lowest rates of educational attainment and enrollment among OECD countries. Improving educational outcomes is essential for addressing structural challenges that hinder productivity growth, such as inequality in access to quality education between urban and rural areas. Higher education levels enhance workforce skills, leading to more efficient use of technologies and greater output, ultimately resulting in higher wages. Enhancing education and vocational training is crucial for Mexico to harness the full potential of its young and growing workforce. Mexico's economic growth has been impressive, but it still lags behind comparable emerging economies in terms of productivity gains. From 1980 to 2019, Mexico's real GDP per capita grew by an average of just 0.7% annually. This is significantly lower than countries like Chile and South Korea, which averaged 3% and 5.3% growth, respectively. The main driver of Mexico's economic growth has been an expanding labor force rather than increased efficiency in using inputs. However, this workforce boom is expected to end by around 2030, as Mexico's fertility rate is below the level needed to maintain a stable population. The country's real GDP per capita growth has been modest, and low productivity gains explain this gap. Productivity, which is the primary driver of growth in most advanced and emerging economies, has remained stagnant in Mexico. The rapidly expanding workforce has meant that there has been a growing pool of working-age individuals in the economy, essentially increasing inputs rather than improving efficiency. Mexico's financial sector also presents challenges, with low levels of credit extended to firms and households. This hampers production, capital formation, and innovation, limiting overall economic growth. Despite these obstacles, Mexico has substantial potential to become a developed nation. Its young and growing demographic, combined with the ongoing nearshoring trend, provides a solid foundation for future growth. Effective use of foreign investment and capital to build long-term economic capacity and reduce inequality will be crucial. The country's growth prospects are further bolstered by its significant resources, strategic location, and improving economic policies. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth content on global economic trends. Your support helps us continue to bring you the latest insights and analysis on the world's most pressing economic issues. Stay tuned for more updates, and let's explore the path to a prosperous future for Mexico together.